everyone, good morning. You're listening to durianasean.com. And this is Gowri here with you today. It's a beautiful Thursday morning. And I'm back, of course, as usual, to deliver some news, local news, ASEAN news, and a couple of important headlines from all around the world. So before I get to the news commentary part, just want to run through some local headlines with you, as our source today will be the Sun Daily. So, step down gracefully, Khalid was told. The five-sacked Selangor Executive Council members today called on Tan Sri Abdul Khalid Ibrahim to gracefully relinquish his post as Menteri Besar. Mat Sabu slander case continues. The case against past Deputy President Muhammad Sabu, accused of slandering police and their families who defended themselves against a communist attack at the Bukit Kepong police station in Muar on February 23, 1950, has been adjourned to tomorrow. Another news here on MCA, where Gerakan weigh in on the crisis. MCA youth has urged Pakatan Rakyat to apologize to the people of Selangor for its blunder and immediately return to power to the people. And finally, PAS wants another MB candidate. PAS has requested that Parti Keadilan Rakyat (PKR) submit a Menteri Besar candidate in place of the party chief Datuk Seri Dr. Wan Azizah Wan Ismail. And a little update on Robin Williams' death. It seems that he was found hanging from his belt. And this also just came in from The Sun. And the first responders called to actor Robin Williams' home found the Oscar-winning actor dead of an apparent suicide with a belt around his neck and slight wounds to his wrist, police said on Tuesday. And Mr. Williams at the time was the cool touched with rigor mortis present in his body, he told reporters, adding that the inside of his left wrist bore signs of having been cut. And Boyd, who is also Marin County's assistant coroner, refused to say whether a suicide note had been found as an investigation continues.
Hi, this is Arlene.
Hi, Arlene. Good morning.
Good morning. Sorry, I'm slightly a bit off the time. But I just want to comment on the Robin Williams that a lot of people, when they think about comedian, they always assume that comedians are supposed to be happy-go-lucky, cheerful all the time. They're supposed to, embody the positivity of life. But a lot of people don't also understand that comedians are just human.
And I'm also glad that the depression has been highlighted recently ever since his death. A lot of communities who are battling against depression or trying to increase awareness on depression have been coming up, and they've been more vocal in their activities, especially relating it to Robin Williams, saying that, hey, if it can happen to someone that famous and that successful, it can happen to anybody. And if you are suffering from depression, don't be shy about it. There's nothing to hide. Just come forward and talk to people about it and find someone to help you out.
In social media as well, from what my observation is, I realized a lot of people were coming out as well. I mean, they identify depression is not something of an illness. It's something that is common among a lot of people. It's how you handle it that is important.
And another thing about depression, also there's been a debate whether it's really a state of mind or if it's kind of like a clinical depression where you actually have to go and see a doctor and take pills for it. I read up a couple of articles on that, and a lot of experts all over the world, especially people who are experts in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, they are totally against taking pills for depression. They think that it is a state of mind, and by inculcating positive thoughts in your head and practicing like daily random kindness activities, and they listed a lot of ways, and they think that there are alternatives to curing depression as opposed to just seeing a psychiatrist and taking all these antidepressant pills.
I totally would agree with that clinical depression. That psychologist, is it? The clinical psychologist?
Which one?
The ones that are
Oh no, these are the NLP practitioners.
NLP practitioners. I think that depression is definitely a state of mind, but at the same time, I always think that there are certain type of mental, I won't say illness, but mental condition. You do need to take pills in order for you to lead a normal modern life. Modern lives today are so demanding. Our lives today, we are expected to be, on par with today's standard of living, which is to always be active, positive. But sometimes being positive itself is not enough to cure depression. Me myself, sometimes I do have the state of mind that leads towards depression, but doesn't mean that I'm always unhappy. I think people who suffer from depression, they just have something or baggages that have been buried deep inside their mind or their heart, that is very hard for them to get it out easily, unlike some people.
Well, I have also, I think, suffered from depression before, and it's definitely not something that's very easy to get out of, because once you get depressed, it just kind of engulfs you in a way. You just feel like you're drowning, you're feeling like you're overwhelmed, and everything around you is just so wrong. You feel like everyone hates you, everyone's out there to get you.
It sounds like an existential crisis.
Well, it's a terrible thing, and of course it can also lead to suicide thoughts. That's the first thing that comes to your mind, like, I don't want to live on this planet anymore, or I just don't want to be alive and like be a burden to people or what. But the way I battled it was by reading books by Tony Robbins, which most people would not agree with, because they think that all these peak performance coach are just out there to get your money. But honestly, I did learn a lot from his book. He did address depression and a lot of other not necessarily illness, but a lot of other challenges that you face in life. And I feel like that book really helped me out of it, which is why I kind of believe that a positive mindset can change it. But of course, it's not easy to get there. It's a very, very long and tedious process. And I would like to think that I'm one of the lucky ones, that because I tend to believe everything I read. So when I read that, I just thought that, hey, this could work. And that's probably the mindset that helped me. But of course, it doesn't work the same way for everybody. So I hope that anyone who's suffering from depression, if you feel like you're negative all the time, it's best to talk to someone, but start with your friends. Like, I don't think that you should go and see a psychologist right away. Probably start with your close friends, your family and all. And if it's still not working out, then probably you can, see a therapist or something.
Or you can read Tony Robbins.
Yeah, you can read Tony Robbins. I really recommend it to anyone.
The title of the book is Awaken the Giant Within.
There are two books actually, Unlimited Power and Awaken the Giant Within. Yeah. So we are moving on to our news commentary. That was just a little a highlight that we wanted to talk about, and we will also be discussing it. Is it tomorrow or Friday? We'll be talking about Dead Poets Society.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
So Malaysia is hosting the World Youth Go Championship. And it seems that from Thursday, the Malaysian public can witness a showcase of the world's oldest strategy board game when it hosts the 31st Malaysian Youth Go Championship from August 13 to 19. Thanks to the Malaysian Wei Chi Association. You should be excited, Arlene. You like board games?
Depends which kind of board games it is.
So organizing this event puts Malaysia on the World Go map. This makes it easier for us to get funding and assistance such as professional teachers, equipment from major international Go institutions like the Korea Bado Association. And this is said by Ho.
So what do you think? Board games. World
Champion Cup. It's another sport, and this is more of like a mind sport, and it's definitely interesting to see Malaysians participating, and especially it's a world championship, and we'll be competing from with people from all around the world, and that definitely puts up a good challenge, gives us a competitive edge that I think.
I don't know. I'm not really that keen into competitively playing board games. I mean, I enjoy playing it during leisure times, or just playing it with friends and enjoy the moment. But to competitively compete with people from around the world, I think it's a bit too much for me.
Well, but I bet there are people who love it. You know, one thing that has always fascinated me is speed chess. Because when you play chess, I would assume, because I play chess and it takes a very long time for you to, think and figure out what move to make. And then these people are playing speed chess, where you get like 1 or 2 seconds to think. So as soon as the other opponent moves, you get like 2 seconds to make your move. And that's one game that has always fascinated me, and I've always wanted to meet like the world's speed chess champion. So yeah, I guess we'll see how this one turns out, and hopefully Malaysia does well, because this is another international sport, and we didn't do too well in the previous Commonwealth, and apparently
so we can redeem it back to board games, I guess.
Probably in a way.
Another news that I think is currently affecting Selangorians, I would say. Like, I spoke to a lot of Selangor, my fellow Selangor people and Selangor friends, sorry. I realized that they are really, really confused and fed up with what is happening right now on the squabbles, or the Selangor fiasco, I would call it. But the development of this Selangor fiasco is Muhammad Saiful is suing Anwar, but this is unrelated to it, but related more to Anwar. So I guess the sodomy case is now open.
It is open again, and I was also quite surprised to find this, because I thought the matters were resolved quite some time ago.
It was resolved quite some time ago.
And he is suing Anwar again now, but this time is more for because he felt humiliated and insulted, and his reputation is gone. So it's more of like a defamation suit kind of thing. It's not so much on the sodomy anymore. But it also says that he's suing Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim for misusing his position and influence to sodomize him. So,
the thing about Muhammad Saiful is he doesn't have a good reputation in the beginning when he started to sue Anwar, realizing that Anwar has this kind of very untainted image. Although nowadays, because of the Selangor fiasco, I think Anwar's reputation is a bit down when it comes to like popular support. For now, I think what Saiful is doing is definitely, I don't know, would make Anwar more popular, or it would make Anwar's name much more hated by the people.
And Saiful also said that he's been suffering physical pain and suffering since 2008, and he was still accused of defaming the PKR leader.
What do you mean by physical pain, Gowri?
What do I mean? You have to ask Saiful what he means. He's probably talking about the sodomizing. I don't know. Don't put me in this difficult position. And he also said that he had lodged a report on 28 June 2008. Of course, this is very old news, and that Anwar had sodomized him, and that he did not lie or cheat over the contents of the report. But of course, back then, the investigation revealed otherwise. It seemed that he was pressured into actually defaming Anwar. And besides that, Muhammad Saiful also said that the High Court had found him to be a credible witness, and the finding was not disturbed by the Court of Appeal.
Interesting, very interesting. But 50 million grand for that? I say, yeah, go for it. But at the same time, I think we need to put a perspective on this. Personally, I think sodomy law, which is actually the remnants from the British law, should not be part of the Malaysian law, or should be at least be discussed. Or be evaluated whether is it really suitable to be used in today's context.
I mean, for one thing, homosexuality and all that is of course not accepted in our country. So when you come up with an accusation like this, like, hey, he sodomized me, I think that's a very it's quite a big deal, and especially in the case where you're accusing of a famous politician.
Fall under rape, I think. I mean, if there's a law for rape, there should be a law for rape for both men and women. It shouldn't be called sodomy law.
That is true.
I mean,
I think he
if a
was
person-
technically raped in that sense, if you put it in
It should
context.
fall under rape law, which I think is much more appropriate.
So we'll have to see how that one goes with Saiful. It seems you said go for it, so yeah, good luck to Saiful with that.
I hope he doesn't suffer for more.
I hope he doesn't hear you. So moving on to Thailand. This is a very positive news for me, I think, because they are banning surrogacy now in the wake of
Oh, wow.
baby gamis scandal.
That is amazing. I think I personally have some ethical questions and problems towards surrogacy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure about you. What do you think about this?
I think that there are a lot of ways to look at it. I wouldn't say that I'm against it. I think that it's a choice that you make. If you feel like you're okay with, carrying someone's baby and then giving it over to them and having them pay you some money, because some people are just that desperate that they're broke and they don't have enough to survive. But I do think that it's best to limit it within family members as opposed to doing it for strangers, because when you do that, and then things like this can happen, they can just say, hey, you know what, I don't think I want the baby anymore, especially
I think the
if
acceptable law is to have surrogacy within your family.
yeah, you're among your relations, your next of kin, like that's fine. But when it comes to, especially when it's from another country like this,
And it
things get
becomes
so
a
complicated.
factory meal. I think that's the most difficult ethical question to ask. Like, if you allow surrogacy to be in any form, then people will commercialize surrogacy out of that, and situation like this would happen. And I mean, we are talking about the matter of human lives. This is not just about creating products.
Mhm. But I am really glad that Thailand addressed this almost immediately. I think within just a couple of weeks, they are planning to ban commercial surrogacy in Thailand. But even before this, they said that surrogacy is not actually accepted. It's not really approved by by the Thailand's government and officials, and all these agencies that are handling it are actually not supposed to do it at all, but they are still operating. But hopefully now that won't be the case anymore.
What do you think of the case in Malaysia? Do you think we allowed surrogacy?
I am not too sure, but I don't think there was ever a problem with surrogacy here in our country. But I think that anyone who is going into this should definitely be careful. Probably have your lawyer with you, sign all the right papers, make sure that you're not being taken advantage of, because I mean, I've never been pregnant before, but I would think that carrying a baby for 9 months is a big deal. It's not just about carrying the baby. It affects your health, it affects your hormones, it affects your body in so many ways. It's not a small thing, so you really need to know what you're getting into before you seal the deal.
Mm-hmm. I would totally agree that we shouldn't take surrogacy lightly. We should definitely put a strict, I would say, a strict law, either against it or to make sure that there are conditions that parents need to fulfill before they have a surrogacy mother to conceive the baby.
And even in the case of this, did you read about the Australian couple where the guy was actually a pedophile? He was charged with a couple of other cases in Australia. And
Interesting.
now that they are actually in Thailand, they're trying to get to the baby. But this poor mother said, no, I don't want to give you the baby anymore,
You mean the Down syndrome one?
Yeah. She said, you left the baby and he's mine now, and, I don't care if I don't have money or what, but I'm not going to give you this baby. And I think in a way what she does makes sense, because you already know how they feel about the baby, and you know that they don't care, you know that they don't want a baby with Down syndrome.
They will just take it just for the sake of taking it.
Exactly.
You want to save your face,
Mhm.
so you just do the right thing, even though you know you don't really agree with the right thing.
So they'll probably just take the baby back, and they could put the baby up for adoption. They could give it away to someone else. So in a way,
they
I
could
support.
mistreat the baby,
Yeah, they
hold
could.
together.
Probably not give it enough care, because when you have Down syndrome, the baby needs to be given, extra attention, extra care. You need to be put in a special care center, be sent to a special school, and that requires more money in a way. And would they actually want to do that, or they're just trying to, like you said, save their face? Just come and get the baby and go back and shut everyone up.
Yeah. Another one thing that is currently a huge deal in Southeast Asia is regarding on the South China Sea. So Beijing recently hits out at the US for their South China Sea proposal.
And Beijing has accused the US of deliberately stoking tensions in the South China Sea as it rejected Washington's proposal for a freeze on provocative actions in the region, the Foreign Ministry said on Monday. And the remarks by Foreign Minister Wang Yi came at an ASEAN regional forum overshadowed by the disputes over strategically significant sea.
And Beijing claims that it almost in its entity, putting it at odds with countries including the Philippines and Vietnam. There has been several tension encounters in the area over recent months. U.S. Secretary U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry appeared at the forum to push for a multilateral agreement to end all actions that risk further inflaming regional sensitivity. What do John Kerry? What does John Kerry mean by multilateral? Did he explain about that?
I don't think so, but there has been a lot of news about John Kerry pushing for a quick solution. He's even pushing for things in Myanmar, trying to push them for their political reform and all that. And it seems that they are trying to get to an agreement here regarding this maritime dispute, but I don't really know where they are right now. What do you think? How does China actually feel about U.S. intervening? Because it seems like they're not too happy, and U.S. seem
US
like
and China, they are the best of enemies and not so the best of friends. When it comes to Myanmar, when it comes to the South China Sea, it's a complicated issue because it involves almost all of the countries in Southeast Asia. And at the same time, some of the Southeast Asian countries have very, very close ties with the US. I'm referring to countries like Philippines and even to some extent Malaysia. Although Malaysia and Singapore are pretty neutral on this, while Indonesia, I would say they are the best position at being the mediator, and I think China would accept Indonesia's help. But when it comes to the US offering code of conduct and multilateral solution, it seems to be very, very uneven when it comes to Beijing's view about Washington's approach. I think they think that they do not want any US personnel to infiltrate their rights, or at least their say in terms of how South China Sea should be demarcated.
I read another article where it seems that China is looking at US as just a busybody kind of thing, because they feel like this is an ASEAN thing and this should be resolved here. Why do we have US coming in, intervening, telling us what to do, how to solve our problems? Like, hey, we got this. But of course, I do not totally agree with that, because China has been trying to extend its territory by intimidating Philippines and Vietnam, and they're probably trying to assert their position as the superpower over here, which we already know, and they don't really have to do anything to prove it further.
The US, of course, they want to have a control over Southeast Asia's matter. South China Sea has nothing to do with the US interests. If you look at it in the perspective of Southeast Asia, it has more to do with China's interests. I believe that China has a right to have just either bilateral or just alone sitting down with the ASEAN leaders to discuss on this matter, and to have a mediator within ASEAN to deal with this.
So now that the ASEAN conference is over, do you foresee another dialogue happening with all the parties involved here?
another dialogue. I think they should have another dialogue. But I think the best way is to achieve an agreement on the code of conduct, especially in regards with the South China Sea. It can be a shared area of sea that all countries, including China, use it for their own commercial or non-commercial needs. I believe that Southeast Asian people and leaders should be very much aware of this sensitivity among diplomatic relations between countries and make the best choices in terms of what is the best way to ensure that the South China Sea are well protected and and countries that are within it has a stake on it. That's my approach on that.
And that's Arlene, the IR expert at Durian ASEAN. So that's all the time that we have for today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for listening. And of course, don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube channel where we upload videos every week, our podcast, and also a short video from our guest. And Arlene, if they want to know our weekly topics and speakers or get in touch with us, can they send us an email?
Oh, yeah. They can always send us at durianasian@gmail.com.
Thank you for listening. We'll be joining you again for our Blast from the Grassroots session.